here. Today I have a couple of crowd pleaser recipes for you. First up, we're gonna make some buckeyes. Now these are my husband's favorite. He loves these and a lot of other people do too. We're just gonna use a little bit of peanut butter, a stick of butter, and 2/3 of a cup of powdered sugar, and I have a chocolate candy coating, but you could also use chocolate chips and a little bit of Gulf wax if you don't have this. So first up, I'm just gonna mix up 1 cup of peanut butter, and I will also melt 1 stick of butter, and I'll be sure to add that to the mixer. We're just going to combine that mixture of the peanut butter and the butter together and give it a little mix, and then start adding our powdered sugar a little bit at a time until it gets good and mixed up. But what you want is a texture that's firm, but it holds its shape, so that's what you're looking for. Once I get this good and mixed up, I'm just gonna pull out about a tablespoon's worth of peanut butter mixture and roll it into a ball. And I'm gonna do that for the whole batch, and then I'll mix up my chocolate mixture. Like I say, I just have the chocolate candy melts, but if you wanted to use chocolate chips, you would just mix up this with about a tablespoon or 2 of Gulf wax. You can find that in the canning section. But that just makes a hard exterior that's not going to melt instantly in your hands. I just use a double boiler because I don't have a microwave, and then just take a toothpick and like gently dip these in so they look just like buckeyes. And these do have a hole in the middle, but I'm just going to gently pinch them and smooth out the top so they look like a buckeye nut. This is definitely a tradition that Jason and his family have had, so that's why I learned how to make buckeyes, and I know that you'll love them. Next up is peppermint bark. This is probably the easiest thing. Now, just candy bark in general is super easy to mix up the flavors and make it your own. But today I'm just gonna get a piece of parchment paper so it doesn't stick to the pan. Next, I'm just using a double boiler to make some chocolate. I'm just melting that. I'm adding a little bit of peppermint oil to it because I'm making peppermint bark. But if you're making a different variety, you could use orange or vanilla or whatever you like. I'm smoothing that out in the pan, and then I'll stick it in the freezer for just a little bit to harden while I make my second layer. I found these white chocolate chips on sale for 49 cents in the dollar section of my Kroger. So mine's gonna be blue, but normally you would have just white chocolate chips. And I'm melting those down a bit. And while I melt these down, I'm going to pull out a bunch of peppermints from their bags. I don't know why these are individually bagged. I guess so you can stick them in your purse, right? But I'm pulling out a bunch of peppermints, and I'm going to break them up as much as I can so they'll be really pretty and shiny on the peppermint bark top. If you didn't want to do peppermint bark, I think a really good flavor combination would be maybe adding orange flavoring to your chocolates and then adding in some cranberry, like dried cranberries and nuts, or even adding vanilla and then maybe doing some pretzels and caramels. I don't know. Any of that would be a really, really good flavor combination. This is definitely one of those recipes that you can make your own. I did add a couple of drops of peppermint to my white chocolate layer, which is blue, but I quickly smooth that out, and then I'll add on my peppermint to the top. Mints are added, I just go ahead and pop this in the freezer because I'm impatient. And the best way to cut these is definitely with a knife. They say to just pick it up and drop it on the counter and let it break apart, but I find that my two layers kind of separate when I do that, so I like to use a knife for this. And the final treat I have for you is Christmas crack. That's what we call it. But it's basically just a caramelized layer with chocolate on it. I'm personally using pretzels today, which I will just put in a single layer on a baking sheet with some parchment paper so it doesn't stick. In order to make my caramel layer, I'm just adding 1 stick of butter and a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Now, I make my brown sugar using molasses, but you could use just regular brown sugar as well. That would probably be one less step to take, but I don't like storing brown sugar, so I make my own in the pan. We're just gonna melt this butter and sugar mixture until it is bubbly. Around about 3 minutes is where you want it. We're gonna pour it over our pretzels and then bake this mixture for about 8 to 10 minutes at 350 just to kind of spread out that caramelization layer. And you want it to be bubbling when it comes out of the oven. Next, you're gonna top it with some chocolate chips. I ended up having to add a few more, but we're gonna top it with chocolate chips and then bake it for 1 to 2 minutes just to soften those chips. The final thing we're gonna do is just smooth the chocolate over the top. You could add some sprinkles or something fun if you wanted to make it festive, but other than that, you could just break it apart on your own or with a knife, which is my preferred method. I hope this video has given you a couple ideas to make some quick treat recipes in case you have a gathering or just craving a sweet tooth. You never know. Can't wait to chat with you in the comments, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.